Welcome to the Queue. I am Belligerent. This is episode 5. Coming off of our Silly Saturday episode 4. If you didn't get a chance to check that out, please do so. Some great times, great laughs, and some great response. People asking to make Silly Saturday a permanent part of the program. So, very possible that we continue doing Silly Saturdays. And it got me wondering, well, maybe we should have theme days more often or every day of the week. And I'm not sure I want to do every day as a theme, but maybe we can find something along the way. I just don't want. I'm worried about locking myself into something. We can handle Silly Saturdays every Saturday. We might be able to handle a couple of other things. There's a lot of different ideas going on in my head. Hit me up on Twitter or in the YouTube comments at belligerent_VG. That's BLG3RNT_VG. Let me know what you think. I had a few more ideas in my head. We could do like speculation Sunday. We could do theory crafting Thursday. There's some other things that we could work in, but those are a couple that pop into mind right now. I'm not sure, again, that I want to do it every single day because that really locks me in. That means if something's on my mind, I can't necessarily talk about it because it would be such and such this day. So maybe a couple of days a week, we could do some themed episodes and see how that goes. If you have any ideas, like I said, please hit me up. Don't be scared to communicate. I love the communication. I try to respond to all of them, or at least like the tweets or whatever. Keep in mind that I am watching and paying attention. So, what are we going to get into today? This was requested on Twitter, and it kind of fits into maybe the speculation Sunday that I was talking about. Let's talk some 5v5. Let's speculate on what might be coming for us in 5v5 or what might be strong, or just talk about it. And we've done some talking about it over time on the Time for Rolling Esports podcast, so make sure you go check out that podcast. It's a great podcast. I have a lot of fun doing it. Oh, and to also kill some of the speculation, I'm not planning on leaving that podcast just because I'm doing this one. Now, maybe they decide they don't want me anymore. I don't know. That's on, that's something for them to decide. But I love co-hosting that show. We have a little bit of a break going on right now. They're doing a couple of other projects for the show that I'm not a part of because we have this break between now and Worlds, and that podcast is primarily around the VG8. So let's get into 5v5. Now, I do know some things that I can't share because I'm part of the PBE, the test group, and frankly, even if I wouldn't get in trouble for sharing them, nothing is finalized yet, so there would be no point in me talking about it until we know what it's going to be. So, some of the things I have to hold back here on this podcast, but we can talk about some general things or some things that they have shown us on the broadcast for the VG8, stuff like that. But so my main experience with the 5v5 is from Smite. I never really played League of Legends. I went through the tutorial, got into, I think, the first practice match against some bots, opened up the shop and saw like 4,000 items, and I said, oh my god, I don't want to learn this much. I already put so much time and energy into Vainglory and learning the items and learning the heroes and learning all the stats and all of that stuff. The prospect of doing that for League of Legends was overwhelming, and I'm not much of a PC guy. I've never been able to mouse and keyboard, ever. My typing's only average, and so trying to remember where the keys are, especially when you're not typing a word, you're just looking for a particular letter in the heat of battle, just didn't work for me. So I have played Smite. That is a PC game, but they also offer it on Xbox, and so I can jam with an Xbox controller. So Smite on the Xbox is really my main 5v5 experience. So what do you have in your typical 5v5 MOBA? Well, you generally have 3 lanes. They're generally referred to as top, middle, bottom. Smite is more of a left, middle, right because it's from bottom to top. kind of like Vainglory is from left to right. Uh, and League of Legends, I guess, goes kind of at a diagonal. So they refer to it as top, middle, and bottom lane. But in Smite, it's vertical, so it's more left and right lane. But anyway, we don't necessarily know exactly how it's going to play out in Vainglory, but what we do know is that there's going to be 3 lanes. They've already shown us that. They showed us the map. It looks, people have said it looks very similar to the League of Legends map, so a similar style like that. So typically, from my experience, in one lane, you are going to have what is referred to as the ADC, attack damage carry. So you're going to kind of have your glass cannon, so to speak, almost. This is the hero that you're looking to ramp up late game and rely on them to do most of the damage. That ADC is typically protected by a captain, or a protector, or whatever other games call it. We call it a captain in Vainglory. So I'm assuming that you'll see some of that. I think some players like Truth on Nova will excel in like an ADC type role because he almost builds glass cannon anyway in 3v3, and so that's really what you're looking for, is somebody like Truth, or you could even throw in Starting All Over, somebody that can make spectacular plays, do a lot of damage, kind of carry the team, more so than like some of the other laners we see at the VG8 level that are consistent. They're good farmers, but they're not generally the ones making the plays for their team. That's not what you're necessarily looking for out of an ADC, in my opinion. So I would say, captains are going to fit in the captain role, obviously, and then some of your higher carries, your high burst damage carries are probably going to fit in that ADC role. Generally, again, in my experience, the mid lane is usually a mage, somebody with good crowd controls, somebody that can, that has good wave push, things of that nature. Celeste kind of pops into my head as one that we have. You could possibly see Samuel in a mid lane. Sky, maybe, even though she's not really a mage. But generally, like in Smite, generally you see a mage hero in the mid lane. And then in your solo lane, it's generally a tank, a bruiser, a brawler. So you're thinking Glaive, Rona, who else? Blackfeather. He's not really a bruiser, but he's a melee character that can kind of hold the lane on his own. So people like that. Who else might we see? Saw might make a good ADC with a captain there to protect him because he's so slow he won't have any escape. But he could be good at pushing turrets, getting ramped up, and then just destroying teams late in team fights. The struggle with Saw is going to be his movement speed, so you probably would want somebody like an Arden who can Vanguard him to speed him up, a Lyra or a Lorelei that can use other abilities to speed him up, things like that to help like a Saw. But in your solo lane, you're probably looking for more of a melee because your ADC is going to be ranged. Your mid is typically going to be ranged. So you want more of a melee, and you really prefer a bruiser to add a little bit more tankiness to the team. So again, a Rona, a Glaive, some of these, maybe even a Jewel. Right, some of these tankier heroes that we've seen already show up in the VGA as good carries up in the lane because they're tanky, because they can sustain, things like that. And then you're going to have a jungler, somebody who's going to roam the jungle, farm a little bit, but also be there to support primarily the mid and I guess the top lane, if that's what you want to call it. I call it the solo lane, mid or the solo lane, because they're both going to be solo, right? They don't have the captain, and it's going to be really hard for the captain to get all the way up to the top lane if he's protecting the bottom lane, unless they release a hero that can teleport. Smite has one that's in the protector role called Athena, and she can instantly kind of teleport to any hero on the map. So that might be something for Vainglory to think about adding. Would be really strong there. But so you need that jungler to add as extra support, but also all the stuff that you're used to, ganks, assassinations, stuff like that, to come out and help a lane push, to hold a lane when one of your laners needs to go back and shop, things like that. So that's some of kind of the basic speculation. We keep seeing, well, they've already shown us, like when Munch did the breakdown on the VG8, they've shown us that they're going to have two big objectives. From my experiences, those are usually going to be like buffs, right? Something's going to give you a buff, a strength buff. In Smite, they have the Fire Giant, which gives the entire team almost like a weapon infusion, comparing it to Vainglory. So those are some of the things that we can speculate on. I think there'll be some heroes, and it's I think it's going to take some time for people to get out of the 3v3 mindset and out of the 3v3 meta. I think there's going to be heroes that are going to be much stronger in 5v5 that aren't necessarily fully meta in 3v3. Fortress, I think I could see him being extra strong in 5v5 versus 3v3. Why? Because 3v3, Fortress has his particular spots that he can play into. But you got to think in 5v5 now he's going to have 5 wolves instead of 3, because he calls a wolf for all of the heroes on the enemy team. At least I'm assuming that's going to go up to 5 versus 3. Again, speculating. That's not something I know. Even from my PBE experience, I haven't seen Fortress played, so I'm not like letting the cat out of the bag or anything. I'm just assuming that Fortress will now have 5 wolves. Fortress also is kind of one of those flex heroes that can do captain and jungle, so you could build him kind of like a burst / tanky hero, so you could put a lot of defense on him, but you could also give him his aftershock and his storm crown and let him clear the jungle really fast, be able to dive in, apply those mortal wounds, do a lot of burst damage with the aftershock, and still also support those solo laners. I could see Flicker being very strong with his global stealth, right? Well-coordinated team could really throw Flicker into a group and just make everybody invisible and, really set up some great ambushes, things like that. How long it'll take to travel the map, I don't know. Will Flicker's stealth work and last long enough to get everybody to the same place at the same time? I don't know. Again, I think it's going to take a well-coordinated team in order to do something like that. I think there are going to be heroes that struggle, as where they might have been strong in 3v3. I think they might struggle more in 5v5. A hero like Finn comes to mind. It's going to take Finn a long time to get across that map from how slow he is. I could see Kroll struggling in 5v5. In 3v3, you can kind of target one hero, get those weakness stacks, get the health regeneration, because you really only have one other damage dealer attacking you. And Kroll, kind of excels in those situations. But in a 5v5 scenario, when you get into team fights, right, his weakness stacks in 3v3, you can identify like the carry. You want to take out the carry. So Kroll always dives on the carry, applies the weakness stacks, so the carry can't do as much damage as they want to do. But when you go to 5v5, there's so many more targets, so many more priorities, and when you get into the late game team fights, I think Kroll is gonna kind of fall out of meta, just speculating and thinking how the meta might evolve there. So that'll be interesting for me to see. Who else might struggle? Just to wrap this up, I'm trying to think. I don't think Grace will be quite as strong because she's ultimately a single target healer, and there's just too many. Even with Echo, now you can only do 40% of your team, is where you used to be able to do 66% of your team in the heal, and the only person you weren't healing was yourself. Now, I'm sorry, 50% of the team with an Echo is all she'll be able to do, because now she can only heal 2 out of the 4 other players in a team fight. Her team-wide damage reduction will be really strong, but I think we might see Grace struggle a little bit. We already are. Catherine is going to be in kind of a weird place because Merciless Pursuit is great for a single target. Her Storm Guard, her Bubble, Storm Guard Shield, is that what it's called? I don't remember. But I could see that potentially doing a boatload of damage if she can get right into the middle of the team fight and deflect damage from 3 or 4 different sources, things like that. Her silence could, grouping them up properly, I mean, you could silence an entire team, which is, could be super strong, but the Merciless Pursuit aspect is going to be super weak. You only got one target that you can use, things of that nature. Again, just speculating where the meta might shift to. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. Players find ways to make things fit. I think Churnwalker will be really strong. He's already showing to be strong in the right hands, but when you can have 4 or 5 chains out instead of just 2 or 3, now the damage can be spread all over the place. Now he can get a whole lot more healing out, things like that. So, yeah, that's just some of my speculation for 5v5, some of what I'm looking for to see from 5v5. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Again, toss me your ideas. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, some of the things you want to hear. Shout out to the person that tweeted me today, said he wanted me to talk about 5v5 and about worlds and stuff like this. So this episode was for you. Hope you enjoyed it. This was the Q. I am Belligerent. This was episode 5. Have a good one.